Welcome to episode 456 of the Recruitment Marketing and Sales Podcast. And I'm your host, Denise Oyston. And today we've got a sort of expert interview and a case study from one of our clients called James Shenton. He's the MD of Opus Resourcing. So let me ask you a question. Are you a recruitment business owner who is now really feeling the pressure of that increased competition and wondering how you can adapt your marketing strategy now in 2025? If that sounds familiar to you, in this episode, we sit down with James, who, as I've said, is the managing consultant at Opus Resourcing. It's a boutique technical recruitment firm with nearly 20 years of experience now. In this particular podcast, James shares his candid journey of transforming from a referral-based business, which many people are, through to developing a comprehensive marketing strategy in response to all the major marketing shifts. And James works in the tech space, so I'm sure many of you will understand the challenges that he's had. So he talks about dealing with the massive tech industry layoffs to rebuilding their personal brand, their positioning, developing an established recruitment firm that really can work with the challenges that are coming at the moment. So whether you're struggling with similar issues in your market or you're looking forward to future-proofing your recruitment business, then this conversation will give you a lot of really valuable insight. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Recruitment Marketing and Sales Podcast. An obsessive focus on marketing and sales is the only way to accelerate your company growth. So listen in now as we share the latest strategies and techniques guaranteed to deliver you more placements and profits. So welcome, James, and thanks for taking some time today to have a chat about your experience with marketing and being part of Superfast Circle. But listen, before we get into some questions, can I just invite you to say a little bit more about yourself and about Opus Resourcing for those who are listening?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for having me on today. It's appreciated. Yeah, for those who don't know me, my name is James Shenton. I'm a managing consultant at Opus Resourcing. We're a boutique technical recruitment business who've been trading now for the last 19 years, focusing on predominantly across the UK, Europe and the US at the sort of mid to exec level. Yeah, so very, very much technology centric and working closely with customers. We're driven by two very experienced managing consultants.
And so next year, and I hadn't quite realised this, I don't think, next year's a big year then in terms of celebrating 20 years.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So, yeah.
I feel some marketing opportunities coming along there.
Indeed, yes. Another year of growth, hopefully.
Now, we've worked together for a couple of years now, but let's maybe just go back in time a little bit and just think about before we started working together, where were you at with Opus? Because I don't think you'd done lots of marketing before.
Yeah, no, that's fair to say. I mean, we were relatively established, obviously, sort of 16, 17 years in. I'd worked on some very large PSLs with people like Sky, 3, worked with people like Apple. So a lot of our business in the first 15 years was coming through delivering on big PSLs and networking within the sort of talent acquisition community and having a reputation for delivery across a really diverse range of roles and being seen as a troubleshooter for sometimes more of the difficult roles that organisations had within the technology space. I think two things have changed over. Obviously, there's been ups and downs over those years. We've had the .com bubble, the financial crisis. But predominantly, I think talent acquisition teams have grown a lot over the years. So companies are starting to scale, and particularly over the last few years, we're really scaling in tech. Very big talent acquisition teams, and also there's been a big increase, I suppose, in recruitment consultancies as well in the tech space. So there's a sort of starting to see a bit more of a squeeze in terms of people doing it themselves, companies doing it themselves, and also sort of increased competition. And I think whereas when we first started, a lot of recruitment companies were maybe not as professional as they are now. I think the market has changed. I think a lot of companies have really improved. Position's always been relatively similar in terms of our professional nature. But yeah, I think there's definitely been increased competition and cost consciousness over the last couple of years in terms of companies, in terms of what they're and when you're a team, you've got to use them.
Yeah, no,
So,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it makes complete sense from their perspective. So you've got increased competition from internal TA teams, you've got increased competition in the marketplace. So what were some of the challenges for you then at that time as you were thinking about, we need to do something about this marketing thing?
I think because most of our business had been from referrals, that was becoming harder.
Right.
There was another big seismic shift in that TA teams were actually starting to get laid off. So the tech market over the last 2 years was quite early in the cycle of downsizing with the Metas and the Googles and the Amazons all making big layoffs. Suddenly the market changed and companies were looking very much at sustainability instead of outright growth. So that combined with TA and increased competition meant we need to look at our proposition, make sure for the first time we were probably having to go outside of our warm network and seek new business. So it was a case of then, okay, how do we do this? How do we formalise our marketing to have a stronger brand and really have a more formal sort of product offering and look at our positioning. So I started to think, okay, who can help us with this?
That? Yeah.
We don't have the internal capacity
to do that. And just before we kind of pick up on that, just if I can just go back and ask you, because it's something that, as I talk to lots of different business owners, that they talk about referral historically has been a huge channel for business and new opportunities. What was it that you were seeing about referral? Because if that had been a main channel for new business for you, what was it that you were starting to see as the market was shifting?
Well, I mean, I did a quick sort of bit of data analysis on a lot of our referrals came through TA teams, and they tended to move typically every 2 or 3 years. Obviously, I knew quite a lot of head ofs, talent leads, and as they moved, they were like, "Who can we bring in?" James been on the top tier of the previous PSL, and they know the sort of personal nature of what we do. But I think once I did that data analysis, I saw that about 50% of my TA network were actually unemployed. There was that much of a seismic shift in terms of the market. So I realised that probably that we weren't going to get that volume of
no
referrals that we were used to.
Some new channels, I don't think I'd realised. Right, that's good to either be reminded of that. So no, okay. So you do your analysis, you realise that. How did you come across Superfast Recruitment?
I'm trying to cast my memory back because I think I sort of tracked you guys for a while.
Stalking.
Because obviously I'd been thinking about it for a while. But no, I think it was actually an email initially, a campaign that you were running, which caught my eye. I then sort of obviously I think I must have followed you guys on LinkedIn, and then I jumped on a webinar, and then I really got the sense of what you did. I think we then followed up with a call, sort of went more about what you could offer and talked about you spent time getting to know us and what our challenges were, and then at that point it seemed sensible to obviously join and try and sort of solve some of the marketing issues that we had or to reposition ourselves.
And so just kind of like expanding a little bit on that then, because I do remember those early calls that we had, and I think something that you talked about was it was you wanted somebody who was going to take the time to understand and have some of those conversations. But I wonder what else was it in terms of how we work and what we do that made you decide, okay, this is for me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously as a business owner, you're really busy wearing a lot of hats. So I suppose the unique proposition of what you do, because you only focus on recruitment, marketing, and then there's a lot of elements to obviously what you offer. But it's, I suppose, quite similar to ourselves. There's two of you. You're very experienced, very consultative, and you'll work with people in different ways to sort of achieve what's necessary, and probably really need a bit of hand-holding. We don't have a marketing person. So it was that was kind of what I was looking for, someone that could offer something that wasn't a one-size-fits-all, that was sort of boutique approach, I suppose, across both sort of marketing in general in terms of the plan, but also business development and the other arrangements as well, and content as well.
And so when you think then about, let's say, what have you been able to do since you joined? Because it's actually coming up for 2 years.
Yeah, it's 2 years. It is, isn't it?
And so, it hasn't been the easiest 2 years in some ways, neither has it?
It's not.
Right. So what are some of the things then that you've done, and how, I guess, being part of Superfast Circle, how has that supported you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've done quite a lot in terms of, obviously, really thought about our positioning. So we started off just really trying to get a feel for what are our values, what's our brand proposition, and then building out the product proposition as well, and sort of really sort of going back to the drawing board from everything to, in terms of the process, to the value we deliver, and then that led on to a rebuild of the website, which worked quite well actually, in terms of having to build a website really does formalise a lot of those aspects, and all the different products and testimonials and case studies. And so we've done a lot of things around, obviously built brand new brand, website, loads of marketing material, from specific case studies to a brochure to pitch decks to regular blogs to market reports. Really worked a lot on our LinkedIn positioning and being thought leaders and personal brand, company brand. So I mean, lot of aspects over the 2 years, and then moving more into BD as well, email automation. So, but not all in the first 6 months, but over the 2 years.
It's kind of like been a process, hasn't it? So let's just take a few of those areas then. So you mentioned about sort of about the BD side, and so how, because I think that marketing and BD, it's kind of like a grey area. It used to be like, you've got marketing and you've got sales over here, and like never the twain will meet. But I don't quite see it like that today. But I'm just curious, what's been your experience of how, I guess, you've used some of the resources that you have access to help you on that BD side, and how you've brought the two bits together?
Yeah, I mean, I think so we've had success through the website. So we've had some inbound clients we've worked with and had some success with. I think also we were getting a lot more sort of in candidate instructions through the website. So I think in terms of the overall proposition, it's a lot better. We've had traction from cold email. It's not easy. It's probably low volumes, but we've probably been a bit over specific in terms of some of we've done campaigns which are quite bespoke to different types of technology or different types of organisations, trying to help them with a problem. So we haven't implemented much mass in terms of emails, but from the ones we've had, I think we've had quite good traction. And then I think actually just the more subtle sort of inbound through more regular posting on LinkedIn, and really being more active again, just being more consistent with our warm network. And at some points when you just think that maybe things are never going to happen, someone just comes out of the woodwork and surprises you. So we've had some quite significant wins this year, both from senior level roles and an exec search role, through just more touch points, I guess, both on LinkedIn and email, just making sure we're more consistent over long periods of time, because it's easy to be always about the now, that you don't know when someone's need is going to be. It might be, So and we're always very, I think as recruiters, we're too instant of
impatient.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
maybe.
I think as business owners, we have a tendency to kind of like be impatient, and we want results now, don't we? And what's interesting is that sometimes I'll end up having conversations with people, and they'll say, "Well, whatever the strategy is, it didn't work." And as I start asking a few questions, then you realise that actually, because we can be impatient, that individual, that owner, perhaps has made that judgment. Well, I've not got what I wanted over the last 4 to 6 weeks, so I'm going to stop because it's clearly not working. But yet, something that I really see, especially kind of like this year, because you've had a massive focus on BD this year, is that you've been doggedly consistent with it. And I know it's not been easy at times being patient, but it has really kind of like started to pay off in this last kind of like sort of 3-4 months with some of the opportunities that you've had, and that consistency, even when you're spinning lots of plates and wearing lots of hats, that consistency is really important when it comes to marketing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I think generally once we work with a customer, our repeat business rate is well over 95%. So it's just about engaging and showing them what we're capable of, and the flexibility and the value we can add over and above being transactional. So
I just wanted to take a moment to connect with all of you amazing listeners. As you know, our podcast isn't sponsored, and we pour our hearts into bringing you quality content for every single episode. Now, if you've been enjoying the show, I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. You can find me at linkedin.com/Denise Oyston. That's Oyston. Just click that link. Let's connect. And also a quick reminder that sharing our podcast or giving us a shout out on social goes a long way to helping grow our community and getting the message out there to all of the small recruitment companies and staffing companies and search companies that want to do well. Your support does mean the world to us, and it helps us to continue doing what we love. So thanks for being part of the journey. Now let's get back to that show.
And I know that you mentioned that, let's say, combined with the website, you've also done a company brochure, you've got a pitch deck, etc. And so you've really been building out your branded resource in that way. What difference do you think? Let's say you've talked about the website with inbound leads, which is fabulous. But what difference do you think perhaps leveling that brand and having some of those resources and using them, how has that helped?
I guess as a small business, it's hard to, as a business owner, it's really hard to be hands-on recruiting, resourcing, winning business, marketing. There's so many aspects. I think what we needed was the help to not only to some of the tools and experience to go through the situations where you're a little unsure. But yeah, I mean, it has. I feel like we're a lot stronger now in terms of our position, and when I go and meet customers, I feel like we represent ourselves well in terms of our materials.
Absolutely.
It's all consistent. There's a good consistency, whereas before I think possibly we didn't really need to worry about it too much because it was mainly about reputation, and position was quite strong because we need people ready.
Yes. Whereas it's kind of like with things changing. And I think certainly when I've seen kind of like the results of what you've been doing, there's that you can confidently, and you have recently sat in front of people at a global brand, just like you did before when you were getting lots of referrals and the market was really buoyant and things. And you represent yourself, and you can sit alongside any of the big companies, shall we say.
Yeah, I mean, we've just done pitches to COOs, CTOs, delivered roles for CEOs in the last 6 months. So we've taken on, I would say, a small amount of high value customers that I feel quite buoyant going into next year, even though it's still quite tough.
Yeah.
We haven't really, I'd say, although we haven't grown revenues massively, we haven't lost. I think most companies have been struggling, but I feel we're stronger going into 2025, and we're certainly more optimistic and in a good position.
Good. Well, I am pleased to hear that, because you put a lot of work in, I think, to kind of like build those foundations for next year. When you think about, I suppose, when you first joined Superfast Circle and you started working with Denise and I've joined programs, we joined programs, and you kind of like, you sort of think, well, how is it going to be? You've got some expectations and you're wondering, how is it going to align or not? How was that for you in terms of what you expected and what your experience has been?
Wow, that's a tough question.
Sorry.
I think, I mean, it's been a great experience. I think just the regularity of the calls, I think even the yearly get together, the ability to talk to other business owners within the recruitment space, the weekly chats we have, the fireside chats about, what people are trying to implement. And yeah, I think it makes you more determined to deliver when you're hearing what other people are doing as well, and having the tools to do it. I think if you were trying to implement all this without help and a strategy, it'd be quite a challenge, because typically you don't get that many hours a week to do it, but if you don't have support. So yeah, it's trying to sort of make the best use of the time, and yeah, just really just brilliant to have that specialist sort of knowledge. And yourselves being small business owners and a boutique consultancy, it just aligns well. And I think it just makes life a lot easier and more viable to deliver.
Yeah. And I mean, often as I am chatting to owners, people are considering, what do we do with marketing, pretty much like you were a couple of years ago. And they're uncertain because there's a lot that you can do with marketing, and it can be overwhelming at times. And I think sometimes that can make people feel additionally uncertain. And so if there are, let's say, some owners who perhaps are sitting on the fence and they're thinking, I know I need to do something, but what do I do? What would you say to somebody like that, having had the experience that you've had and reaping some of the rewards of it now?
I think it's very easy to procrastinate, especially with business development. But the trouble is, if you procrastinate, there are recruitment businesses going to the wall. There are recruitment businesses that are not innovating. And I think if you're not innovating, you're not trying new things, you're not marketing, I think there's a good chance that you're not going to grow unless you're very fortunate in this market. I would encourage you to try things and apply a strategy. I mean, it depends on your bandwidth, your budget, but I think it can be done with a sensible budget. And if you're quite structured in the way you allocate your time, it's achievable. I think if you're serious about growing a business or retaining the size of your revenues, you're definitely going to need to implement some marketing and definitely business development within your workplace.
Yeah. And for you, what kind of like, I suppose, what convinces you to keep working with us? Because you've worked with us for a couple of years, we're going to be working together next year. And certainly when we set up Superfast Circle a number of years ago, that wasn't our automatic intention, I think, until we realised that actually there is so much to share with people from a marketing point of view. And over time, we see that people want to kind of like learn and keep doing more. But yeah, I suppose it's interesting to know.
Sure.
Want to keep moving forward.
I think the reality is you don't know what you're going to face in any given year. So you'll have different circumstances that require you to lean. We have regular chats, we have client scenarios, we've had presentations where you guys have helped us to reposition our slides, really think about our offering. So it's more than just marketing. It's sort of, I see you guys as mentors in a number of ways. So it's obviously one piece, but in the ongoing way, it's things like pitches and scenarios and PSL tenders. We can bounce those off you and get your views. And obviously, I think the yearly event's really, really useful as well. And and just being consistent. I think using the content consistently, increasing the size of the content catalogue on the website. So a number of aspects, but probably as the marketing becomes more advanced, certainly BD needs to improve and become even more strong for us. It does take, probably as a small business owner, it does take a little bit of time to do everything. Yeah, I would say. And even we've started talking about other things like joining networks and works for the US that I know you're a part of, and we've done a fee split with someone in the network as well, the Superfast network, which has been really great. They've introduced us to someone who obviously is a recruiter but in a different discipline, so we've managed to strike up a relationship with them and have done a good sized transaction in the US. So and we're talking about working further. So I think there's just other things that can come out of being in the circle, which has been great for us.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear, and I know that I was going to ask you in terms of thinking of 2025. You were saying that you feel really positive, optimistic. What for you? What are kind of like your big? Let's say from a marketing point of view, what are your big areas for focus for next year? Because you've got a really great base now. You've got this amazing website. The brand's really elevated and everything.
So I think I need to sit down and think about this a bit more. But yeah, I think in terms of positioning, I like to sort of move more into exec search. So that's my goal over the next 5 years, to become a little bit more specialist in that area at a higher level. So probably we'll be trying to target a lot more LinkedIn and sort of tools and knowledge sharing around that. So I think that's my marketing goal, to become more focused in the exec search and drive and become, probably automate more. Yes. We've started, but try some slightly higher volume in terms of the BD campaigns as well. Yeah,
because you've really kind of like focused on the more tailored, more personalized approach, and there we can talk about that blend there as well. And so I think it's, for people listening, it's what you're saying. You can't expect to do everything in 6 months, even though we might want to as business owners. It is kind of like it is like a step-by-step approach, and one that clearly makes a huge impact and gets great rewards as well. So look, thank you for your time today. Looking forward to plans for next year, and we can talk in more detail about that as well. And we will speak soon.
Brilliant. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Welcome. Cheers, James.
Okay.
If you enjoy this podcast and this year you are ready to take your marketing to the next level, then check out Superfast Circle. This is a unique marketing program designed specifically for recruiters and their marketeers. You get access to 2 virtual marketing directors, you get consultancy, you get your hand held through the whole process, training, consulting, and we provide content resources. So go over to superfastrecruitment.co.uk /join and check out what's available.